Hey everyone, I am diving in to do another core session. Today isn't going to be a typical core class. This class is going to be relatively sort of similar to the very first one that we did. The first one, we went through how to properly core brace, and alongside that, we did show how to brace using the squat. Today, we're going to really focus on the deadlift, and alongside the core bracing work and the breathing work that we do with that, we're also going to go through some typical cues with the deadlift. It's definitely one of those movements that we have to be particularly onto it about with our core to support our back and generate really good force through the movement. And there's really small technical points that we can always improve on with the deadlift, particularly around our hips and how we move in the right motion with that movement. So to start with, I'm just going to recap on the core bracing technique that we're aiming to achieve, and that really comes from what's called diaphragmatic breathing. We want to avoid breathing within our chest, and we really want to use our abdomen. So rather than consistently thinking about taking a deep breath to push the tummy forward, pop your hands here on your oblique side, so right in the side of your core. And from here, we want to focus on lateral expansion of the abdomen. So we're taking a deep breath in, pushing out the hands. We should see them rise without too much of a rise in the chest. And then when we take in that breath, we want to feel the sensation as if you're going to brace for impact, like someone is going to come and punch you right in the stomach. You're going to brace for that impact. That there is that core tension that we want to achieve, and we're creating what's called intra-abdominal pressure, and that's creating a really stable trunk here so that all of our muscles are actively engaged, and it's going to prevent any injury to the spine, basically. If we can keep everything activated and locked in around the spine, we're going to hold that stable position that we need it to be in. This is particularly important as we start lifting heavier with certain lifts like the deadlift, which does make our back quite exposed to rounding or our hips shooting up a bit too soon. We really want to keep everything in the right motion, and we'll go through that shortly. Another thing to practice is if you have a kettlebell, we can practice pushing through the tummy in the right way to stimulate that core bracing movement. We go through a few other techniques in one of the previous classes as well, from the very first core class that we did. So I jump back to that one, go through some of those techniques. This here is a new one that we'll go through. So laying on the ground, I've got a kettlebell. It's probably a bit heavy for this. So I am going to place that on my stomach, and I am going to actively push and breathe outwards, thinking about that lateral expansion. Brace and hold. And you can see that kettlebell rise. Deep breath. So you want to hold that breath hold for about 3 to 5 seconds at a time, and just get used to that hold. So a really good way to activate and get used to that practice prior to getting into the actual movements. This core bracing should be applied to all of our movements that we are doing. This is where most of our core strengthening does come in. We have a lot of isolated work that we work with, like crunches and leg raises and whatnot, but we have a lot to our core, and when we focus on bracing, we're really tapping into more of a deep core and helping with stability as well. So a lot of people sort of hammer in that isolated core work like your crunches and whatnot, but this is where the crux of most of our core strengthening really comes from if we are applying the right bracing properly. So when it comes to the deadlift, we really want to make sure that we are setting up in the right position to start with. So have your bar all ready to go. We are going to step up to the bar We want to have our feet nice and parallel. So with a squat, we're going to have our feet a little bit further apart, more at hip width with the feet pointed out. With a squat, we're a lot more straightforward and parallel. We're going to come down to the bar and we are going to ensure that the elbow crease is matching up near the knees so that we can actually put some tension into the elbow crease with our knees. We're going to push those knees into the elbow crease. And then from here, we are going to create some tension and engagement. So right now I'm really loose, I'm not engaged. And then you'll notice my position as I engage through. See how my back becomes a lot straighter. What I'm doing here is that I'm actually creating tension within my hands on the bar. I'm imagining like I'm trying to snap the bar in half. And as I'm doing so, I'm pushing my chest through, and that's creating total lat activation. So activating that long muscle down the side of our back. And that's creating a lot of structural support to the spine. So heaps of tension and engagement here. Notice that my hips aren't up here. They're not down super low here either. We're here at this neutral position. This is because if our hips are too high, it's likely we're gonna pull the bar up like this. If our hips are too low, we're not gonna get that same engagement, and we're gonna create a large hip drive to begin with. So as the bar lifts here, we are going to push, we're going to create that engagement, chest through, snap the bar. We're going to push the feet through the ground to stand. We're hip hinging like an RDL to the knees, and then we're bending down. So a common mistake that a lot of people make with the deadlift is that they start bending the knees too soon as they bring the bar down. So we don't want, if we're up here in the locked out position, we want to avoid going like this first. We want to go hip hinge, hip hinge, hip hinge to the knee, and then squat the bar down. So where does the core bracing come into this? So when we come up to the bar, we are going to create that tension. We're going to snap the bar. And from here, I'm taking a nice deep breath and I'm pushing that belly out. We're creating that diaphragmatic breath, and we're going to brace hold. Reset. You'll notice as well, once you've done one rep and you put the bar back down in the starting position, your hips will actually naturally sit in that right place. Most of the time when we review technique, the very first rep is the one that looks more off because we're not quite sure where those hips should be sitting, and it feels maybe a little bit alien. We're not quite used to the movement. So just take note and film yourself. Have a review of your technique, set your camera up and review back. Think about these cues that we're going through and identify what you're doing well and what might be off. Have a look at your hips, have a look at when you're bending your knees coming down, and see if it's looking like how we're demonstrating here. That's a really good way for you to learn and also understand what it feels like when you compare that visually to what you're seeing in the video that you've recorded. So a few things there to think about when it comes to the deadlift. But always remember, if you are in VIP, that we are always open for you uploading videos so that we can give you that technical feedback. Always take it from that side angle position for us so that we can see your hip movement. And if there's anyone in community membership that does want to be brave and upload their videos to the community support group, that's absolutely fine as well, and we'd more than welcome it. And that would allow us to give some feedback and critique, and also give a little bit of learning to others as well. So that's always welcome in the support group too. So I hope this was helpful, and if you've got any questions, just pop them in the comment box within the group or within the discussion feed, and we can answer them for you.